Paula Pete Works here, coming to you once again with One Piece chapter 1159 entitled The Island of Destiny. I wonder if the D stands for destiny. That's just a thought I had as soon as I pressed the record button. Anyway, so we have entry 41 of the Yamato cover story, in which Yamato, Page One, and Ulti, along with Onimaru, apparently, hey, there's Onimaru, they are going back to the Flower Capital after their little trip in Ringo. So I guess the pilgrimage is over. So I wonder when she goes back to the Flower Capital, will there be a ship waiting for her? Because I am 10 toes down saying that after this is over, there has to be a transition in which she does what Odin did and she tries to take to sea. But now with so many people around to help her, by so many people I mean Page One and Ulti, perhaps the voyage won't be a failure. Maybe, we'll have to see. But this chapter is super interesting and we're just going to bounce around a little bit. So Wang Ji apparently sold Shocky off to someone, as we find out that she has been kidnapped and the world weeps for the most beautiful woman in the world going missing. With that being said, too, apparently Wang Ji killed Don Merlin, which is crazy seeing as how he's the first Rocks pirate to go down chronologically, as far as we know. So that's wild. I wonder, did he have any influence other than just being a Rocks pirate? We'll have to wait and see in the future. But then we cut to God Valley, and Garling is there, and he just slices down the woman who gave birth to his children, because he says that he needs a wife worthy of his status. And this island will be pillaged for its natural resources as the Marines come in droves and start to incapacitate the denizens of the island with tranquilizer rounds, and they're just going to round them all up. So that's a worry. I guess all these people were just turned into slaves. But I know some of them, at least 500, were saved by Kuma, so I don't know what's going on with that. That's interesting. But in the Marines storming God Valley, we actually meet a young dragon who's a bit confused about the purpose of their mission, but he's just chastised for his insubordination. But in seeing a young Monkey D dragon, we also see that he is carrying this weird armband with this pattern on it. This same armband is shown on his leg once he meets up with Vegapunk in the remains of Ohara, and it becomes a tattoo once he actually steps into the role of being the supreme commander of the Revolutionary Army, and it's on his face. So that's interesting. This armband pattern has to be super significant because it keeps being a very integral part of Dragon's design. And yes, as a young man, he does look like Gear 4th Snake Man Luffy. I've seen that going around. That is quite funny. But moving on a Navy ship transporting slaves, Guinea and Ivankov were successful in delivering the telecommunication to Morgans. Cut to Kuma on the same ship with Jenny and Ivankov, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of the Kuma flashback takes place on God Valley. So then we cut to the Cypherpole Intelligence Bureau, which I don't think we've ever seen this place before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks super new. But yes, at this time, when Morgans is a young man, apparently a child or a teen of some sort, he had the Burr Fruit Model Albatross, and he's being accompanied by Newsku as he's talking to some Cypherpole agents. So his paper, the World Economic Journal, was just a local paper at this time. But what's so weird about him is that even though he's a kid at this moment in time, even back then he had the Burr Fruit Model Albatross and was using his hybrid form as cover. So we still have never seen his actual face. Also, this is the first time, I believe, in this flashback we see Newsku. So the World Economic Journal really did become the World Economic Journal, probably because he implemented the whole system of Newsku delivering papers to people around the world, because I have never seen a news coup in this flashback as of this chapter. So that's pretty interesting. But yes, he does leak the information to the pirate island. So he's always been a fence sitter, an arms dealer of sorts. He just hands out information to whomever so he can get the best story, which is quite interesting for his character and has always been an interesting part of his character. But yes, the pirate island finds out that Shockey's alive. Wang Ji is disgusted because he was the one who sold Shockey out, and they find out that she's the grand prize at this Celestial Dragon tournament. Apparently, the whole bit about hunting humans was secretive because Whitebeard had heard rumor that this was going on, but he thought it was just a baseless rumor. Big Mom and Kaido are also interested because they know now that Doe fruits are up for grabs, and she thinks to herself, these fruits could be perfect for my kids. So I wonder if the Mochi Mochi fruit is there, because that has to be kind of significant, seeing as how it's the first paramecia fruit that we see in the series to be confirmed to be a special paramecia. So I wonder how deep that rabbit hole goes, and we know, of course, Katakuri is around, as well as Daifuku and Oven. So I don't know. And I don't know if Perospero had his fruit at this time. That's a little uncertain as well. But yeah, Kaido is interested in Devil fruits because he wonders what the Devil fruits at this hunting game actually do. So the only fruits we know of being there are the Fish fruit model Azure Dragon, which Kaido would have in the future, and the Paw fruit, which then belongs to Bartholomew Kuma in the future. So I wonder what other fruits are actually there. And yeah, the Rocks Pirates are going to save Shockey. The Roger Pirates also find out about this, and they are also on the way to save Shockey as well. Rayleigh seems to be very excited about this because he was also concerned that she was dead, because we see a little snippet of him looking very sorrowful at the news of her disappearance. So that's pretty cool, and which further leads me to believe that Shockey and Rayleigh are the parents of Boa Hancock. I will keep saying it until it's proven untrue. So, as things are going on, all the strongest peoples of the seas are going to be on this island now. As we know, a big climactic battle is about to happen. But as Rox is on his way, he is stopped by King Harold. King Harold, who is surveilling the area on behalf of a government, and we see that a government ship is keeping tabs on the events going on. And that's when Rox and Harold have a little conversation over drinks, in which Rox reveals that his true name is Davy D. Xebec. So shout out to all the people who said Davy Jones was going to matter in a big way. Shout out to all of you. And of course, this does remind me of Roger, because Roger had a very, very similar conversation with Edward Newgate about the nature of his name. He is not Gold Roger, he is Gold D Roger. So this is very similar, and it's quite interesting that both men who are once rivals at one point have had a similar breakdown about the truth of their names. And apparently the Davy clan is one of the more important D clan families. So that's interesting. That's super interesting. Of course, this also means that Marshall D. Teach is actually Davy D. Teach. So I wonder if Marshall is just his mother's name, which if it is, that strikes a very, very hot parallel to Ace, because Ace did not take on the name Gold. He took on his mother's name, which was Portgas. But I wonder if Teach's mother is also a D, because Ace's mother was a D. And we don't know what the Portgas family is about. So that's weird. But yeah, Xebec is from God Valley. So now you could say the birthplace of Shanks, Shamrock, and Teach were on God Valley. So that's wild. Yes, his hometown is God Valley. So Rox is from the West Blue, or Xebec is from the West Blue. Quite fascinating, quite interesting indeed. That's when, after this talk is over, Harold seems to give up the fight and stage it in such a way in which it seems like he and his crew were overtaken by Xebec, because we see the giant ship on fire. But yes, every 3 years, the celestial dragons have a hunting game on an island not associated with the world government, in which they pillage the natives and the resources for sport. So that takes us to Shakuyaku being presented like a piece of meat in front of all the celestial dragons. And someone shouts out that Summer should really go for it and claim her for the Shepherd family. This, however, falls on deaf ears for Summers, as he says, "Don't be stupid. I'm going to make her my personal property when I win." Summers is awful. Also, Summers is a younger man here, which makes a lot of sense because, well, it's in the past. So I wonder, is he immortal? Because he's aged, but he doesn't seem super old. Not as old as Garling. He doesn't seem as old as Garling, but maybe he is. I don't know. We also see this pizza topping hat girl, and she's with Gunko. And she talks to Gunko as if she's a family superior of some sort, because she says, "Gunko, with you here, we might just take home the clan war trophy." So every 3 years, I guess all the clans of the Celestial Dragons do go to war and they get a trophy for winning or what have you. But we know, of course, Garling wins. And from him winning, he becomes the supreme leader of the Holy Knights. However, while this is going on, Monkey D. Dragon happens upon the mother of Shamrock and Shanks, and she pleads with him to get her children off of this island. We then cut to Marshall D. Teach at his youngest, being talked to by his mother, and they appear to be slaves. This is a very interesting parallel, and when spoiler was out, I thought about this immediately, and a lot of people came to this conclusion too. When we see all of the warlords depicted as children, we do see a young Marshall D. Teach crying as a crescent moon is in the background. What's also interesting about this is that Garling, for the rest of his life at this point, is represented by the moon. And at his most normal, he looks like a crescent moon. So it's quite interesting that crescent moon was in the background of a young Teach's depiction. And here we have a man who styles himself in the shape of a crescent moon. I just find that interesting. But yes, that's when it's announced that not only do they have a child from the Buccaneer tribe here, but for the first time in 800 years, we've also uncovered the members of the Davy clan. So saying that there are members of the Davy clan makes me think there's more than one person. We don't know if Teach's mother is a member, but I'm willing to bet that Buggy is also here, because it's too weird that they're that close in age. Teach is literally 1 year older than Buggy, and they were born on the same month. So I can't imagine that Buggy isn't also a part of the Davy clan. So from the looks of it, no break next week as well. So we will be here for chapter 1160. Can't wait for it. Hope we get an actual fight between Roger and Rox. But with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede Works.